Hello everyone, this is Amina Tamad from Ajid Productions. We're here again on another chapter and episode of our productions. Today interviewing the very talented Ellie. She's an architect intern with BKV Group based in Minneapolis. She invited us to her firm and we're here today to find out about her career background. She's also going to do a brief introduction and we're going to find out how she started in the field of architecture, and then she'll also show us her digital portfolio, and we have a little surprise for you at the end, and we're not going to reveal it, but you'll find out quickly what it's about. So without further ado, here is Ellie, and I let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Amin. I'm Ellie, and I recently graduated from University of Minnesota with an architecture degree, Bachelor of Science, and thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity for me to get the word out there and tell you guys more about the surprise coming up. In the past 4 years during school and going over the projects and how architecture school made me who I am today and how that process went, you'll see a variety of projects, so just bear with me on that.
So this portfolio contains work starting what year approximately?
I would say 2009.
2009.
2009, that's when I started architecture school
That's the
at
year
University
you
of
started
Minnesota. There are some drawings that I could point out that are from possibly middle school that I did, like, carried with me.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Before going into architecture school or before getting accepted into a program at the university, do they require you to have a portfolio and to show off your portfolio prior to even getting accepted?
No.
Or is it only based on GPA and recommendations?
Yeah, it's mostly based on GPA and recommendations, but it's nice to have a background in art or some sort of a design orientation. But I guess when you first enter College of Design for architecture, you're in pre-architecture. So after a year of pre-architecture, you need to apply for Bachelor of Design, and then after that, Bachelor of Science. And so I kept going and I applied for Bachelor of Science, which is a little bit more competitive than Bachelor of Design, just because you have to do another application with a portfolio, and that's basically when we start to do portfolios. It's when we're applying for Bachelor of Science that we need something cohesive, and at that time nobody has an idea of what exactly we should put in the portfolio, and eventually we kind of build upon that. So you'll see a lot of my work even from the first series I just included in this presentation, just in case people are interested in seeing what's happening in the University of Minnesota and what people are studying and how they start architecture school, because it's not really architecture until you get to your junior or senior degree. Then you'll get to more of buildings and things like that.
All right.
So, for example, this is one of the first projects that we did in DF1. It's Design Fundamentals, and as the name says, it's fundamentals of design, and it's basically giving us a task that seems almost impossible. This is a card cantilever, which is not structured from both sides, but only from one, and it's attached to the railing. And we had to figure out a system to bind these together without any glue or any sort of adhesive. So it's just the cards and the cuts and little bits and pieces folded together. And we could only use one deck of cards, and it had to actually carry a tennis ball at the end of it. So it was a really cool project that we had to do almost in a week. So it was a matter of figuring out structure and figuring out really how we're going to build this thing. And it was also a team project, so I was really thankful for a good teammate who would bear with me, and we would throw out ideas and again, recreate something new. So it's always about the process in architecture school, how you get there, why you got there, and is it working? Is the structure not working? So
Nice.
So we started, building the card cantilever, and then afterwards we had to do diagrams and drawings of how we did it, and if somebody else was to recreate the same thing that we did, how would they do it? So really cool project. This is, as you see, it's not architecture, but it sort of is, just because the way we started this project was based off of a building design. So mine was a house from Mies van der Rohe in Chicago, and we had to kind of study the structure of that building and then take that structure and apply it to the paper jacket that we were making. Again, no glue used in this, so I had to figure out how do I connect all these papers and how does it connect back to the structure that I initially thought about. So, when I saw the building, I thought young and sort of fall or spring and really lightweight. The structure is visible, and you can see that the structure is visible in the paper jacket, very lightweight and young looking, and you know, fall and spring sort of feel. So.
Do you still have the jacket?
I still do, because a lot of people made it of like sandpaper and things like that that are really big, but mine is trace paper because I wanted it to be more transparent like the building.
Like the building,
and so
exactly.
It's funny that it's folded up in a shoebox and it's in our basement still. Nice. So this one is an easy one to keep. This is River's Dance, and this was more of a graphic project, and we had to connect the river to something that we thought it was related, and I am always interested in dance and that sort of thing, so I related it to river, to the dance, and you know, the different moods. And then this is it was pictures, and then ran it through Photoshop, and then from there printed it and drew on it, so it's a lot of processes involved on top of it. And then on the back you see it that there is, you know, stamps related to it, there's quotes, so it was a really cool project to, you know, see what people came up with and what they paired it with. So architecture students, we go through a lot of drawing courses, whether this is value drawing or if it's perspective and things like that. And I'm always interested in Iranian architecture just because of my background. And so this is from the picture on the right. It's from a mosque in Isfahan. And I loved how the light was playing on, you know, the different surfaces. And then afterwards, after we were done drawing that from a picture in architectural book, then we had to choose a space comparable to that and do an architectural comparison. And luckily, Rapson Hall has something really similar but yet different. Wow. And so I was comparing the two spaces, one, you know, Iranian architecture, and one where I went basically every single day. And you see a lot of studies, you know, light studies, shadow studies, and why I thought these two spaces related in architectural ways and visually. So it was a really cool project, and I think it was one of the top ones.
Nice. Black and white, right?
Yeah, so one of it is, you know, white Conte on black paper, and one of it is black pencil on paper. So you'll see more of that, and this is the continuation of that, and now we're pairing it with architectural drawings, more of the details and, you know, the measurements and all that. So they're basically teaching us all these techniques and how we can put these things together. And so again, I did a lot of studies, again, more into like the lighting and more into the shadows and how this space, again, in Rapson Hall, what drew me to this space. And it was basically the way that you could see the exterior of the building at the same time see the facade and, you know, the interior. And so it was a cool play of what is exterior, what is interior, how do we see an exterior wall from an interior window. So. And then this is the knot architecture, very smart naming system. It is not architecture, but it's also related to knot, which I can't barely see, but we started from a knot, and I started from a macrame knot because that's what my aunt taught me when I was growing up. She taught me how to do macrame. And so we started from a knot and then translated into a wireframe, and then from there we did cardboard and other sort of models, you know, going back and forth with a positive and negative of that, and then at the end we built a model that was the negative of this drawing, and then basically split it, and then from there we did renderings and things like that. So this is a lot about the process of architecture and how do you get to things that, you know, you want without necessarily kind of getting ideas from where you get the ideas and how do you translate them. So one thing led to the other kind of a thing. This is the Greenway Fissure project. This was a group project, and this was from my senior year in the fall, and it turned out to be great. It was a group, as I said, and on the right-hand side you can see my colleagues and friends project because we all related. We were such a good group of working together, all having the same language, and you can see that. So the Greenway was a railroad corridor in Minneapolis going from east to west, and our site started at Lake Calhoun and went all the way down to Hiawatha, so a really big site. And the program was kind of up to us. It was more about youth and activities that they could do. And then the problem with this site is that since it was a railroad corridor, it's digged down into the ground, and so you have a big disconnect depending on where they're cutting. You could have 20, 30 feet, even more. And how do you connect something that's so great, such a good infrastructure? Because you could basically go through this in 10 minutes with a bike from east to west, versus if you get on Lake Street, it would probably take you a good 30 minutes to get through the traffic, right? And so how do you make that amenity kind of more open to people and have people notice it? So a part of the site was really to make people notice the site and get to it, actually, because there's few access points right now. So we came up with a lot of different scale designs, from the buildings, from the programming, how does the path move through, and how does one experience the touch or the feel, or when they're going through something, how would they experience that? So again, this is some of the group work that we did together. This is kind of the vertical structure that we thought it would be nice for people getting to know what the Greenway is and how do you get to the Greenway, and then looking at different seasons and different times of the day, how does that work? And then we get to the design that I did.
Nice.
Having so many different layers to this, so many different scales. We designed one building, but at the same time, since it was a group effort, we had to figure all the little things together and all have the same language. So if I switch back to where my friend's designs were, you can see a lot of similarities, the same language repeating. So again, back to my design, and mine was basically a lot of art spaces for artists to come in, and like the sculpture garden and things like that, to come in and put that on. And then there was a coffee shop, and when I was in Europe studying abroad, I noticed that their coffee shops and their bars kind of swapped, so it was the day and night thing. So it's not, the space isn't wasting, and somebody goes out the coffee shop and then another group comes in for the bar. So it's always a lively neighborhood, so it's not closed during the day or vice versa. So kind of multiplying that usage to make that more of a lively place. That was interesting to figure out. Was in our materials and methods class, and that's in the BS structure. And we had to actually do a case study the structure of the building, and make the detailed model of it, and then do digital drawings and things like that for us to understand it better. So.
Was this part of your study abroad
This was not. I will point out what is my study abroad is coming up. That was in my junior year. I went to Rome for a study abroad, and also I went to study abroad in Turkey, but that's not in my portfolio yet.
Okay.
And that was in sophomore year. So this is from Rome actually, and this is again a group project, and very similar problem to what I did in Minneapolis with the Greenway. The disconnect here was to the riverfront and the neighborhoods. And this wasn't getting utilized at all. Again, there was a bicycle path, but it wasn't getting utilized by people. And the building that you see the big rendering of, this is called Arsenale. And I was part of the site. You can see the whole site, and then I was grouped with other people, and every person had their own sections. And we made models and renderings and programmed the whole thing.
It looks like a subway station, if you would ask me.
Yeah. So this was supposed to be more of a library and where people would go. Okay. People would go for resources and things like that. And then it's connected to a housing project where it's like studios for artists, and they could create their stuff, go to the library, get something else, collaborate with other people. And then the main level was mostly public or shops that people could come through and actually access the riverfront instead of it having blocked off. And then, as you can see, there it's stepped off for people to sit at and enjoy their view and maybe watch movies or concerts. And at the same time, it's the stairs to connect it to the riverfront still. And then again, since this was such a big project, we had to do different scales, and so mine was a little bus station or bus stop, if you will, and I had amenities, I had electricity, and I had monitors in it to monitor when the bus was coming, because in Rome, they're still a little behind other European cities about their transportation. So this was a way to revamp that.